Hey everybody, I hope you're all having an awesome week, enjoying some good sales out there in eBay seller land. So I put up a video, it was a couple days ago, yesterday, a couple days ago, whatever, talking about free returns and the new seller update and kind of how I think that it's a good thing, blah, blah, blah. And obviously I've gotten some feedback. You know, some people think I'm nuts. Some people think I'm paid by eBay, all kinds of stuff. So I've just been thinking about it. And I wanted to put up another video. I'm hanging out here at the Burlington coat factory parking lot. I'm gonna go in and get some stuff. You know, I mostly do thrifting. I mostly sell thrifted items. Probably about 80% of my stuff is thrifted stuff. But then about probably 20% I do go and buy some new stuff, particularly shoes and jackets. So I like Burlington, I like Ross, a little bit of Marshalls. Just to kind of mix things up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. It's a sourcing day for me. I'm going to hit this Burlington, and then I'm probably going to go to like a bunch of Savers and see what I can find. But anyway, I've just been thinking about this, so I wanted to put a video out and kind of talk about it a little bit. So as far as being paid by eBay, I think that's pretty funny. Anyone that knows me, that's known me for a long time or known me through the seller community, you know I tend to be a super positive person. I like to look at things very optimistically. I like to be surrounded by people who are super positive. I don't really like to dwell on the negative. I just see, that's just the way I look at the world. And when it comes to things like any kind of new challenges or changes, it's like I am always hopeful. I'm just one of those people. That's just the way I am. I'm hopeful that it's going to bring good things to my business, to my life. And that's just kind of how I approach the world. I've been that way probably my whole life. Kind of one of my mottos is I do what I want. I also say I get what I want. And I kind of approach the world with that attitude. Now, in reality, do I always get what I want? No. But I would say that I probably get what I want a good 80 to 90% of the time. And I think a lot of that has to do with attitude, because what happens when you assume that you can accomplish things, when you assume that you can do what you set out to do, when you assume that you can get what you want to get, it's going to change your actions. It's going to change how you approach things. It's going to change the things that you are willing to try. If you know that you can do something, you're going to go do it, right? And maybe you're going to fail, but if you never try, then you're definitely not going to accomplish it. And so that's kind of the way that I go after things. And, you know, when I first graduated from high school, you know, I was always an honors kid. I always, you know, did really well in school, was in like the talented and gifted program, had high hopes for my life. And I went to college right out of high school and I failed miserably for a lot of different reasons. I just wasn't ready for it. I dropped out. I spent a lot of my 20s just really struggling, just kind of working minimum wage jobs. I did a lot of work in retail. It's where a lot of my retail experience comes from. And then I finally, you know, midway into my 20s, I decided it was time to go back to school and try again. I worked really, really hard. I had to, you know, pay back some student loans to be able to get back into school. And I finally got myself back in, and I got my associate's degree first. And then I went to a four-year school, went to Portland State University. And while I was there, I got into the student leadership program, and it was a student leadership program that was centered around community service and partnering with like local nonprofits and stuff like that. And when I got into it, it was just kind of like I wanted to have something good on my resume to go to grad school, to get into grad school after undergrad. You know, but I got into it and it completely changed my life. And it was just something, it changed my attitude. It changed kind of how I saw myself in the world. And while I was in that leadership program, I was asked to speak at the president's house, the president of the university. There was going to be like this big group there. It was like all these leaders in the community and business leaders, like Jerry from Ben & Jerry's was going to be there. The guy that was like the CEO of Kettle Foods, like, you know, those Kettle chips, potato chips. We had like some of our Congress members, our representatives were there. So it was like a lot of like big people. And this was at a time when like I had almost no experience with like public speaking. It completely terrified me. I'd done drama when I was in high school, but that was like playing a character. That was like different than like being out in front of a bunch of people and just being yourself. So I was super scared. And I remember the first thing I wanted to do was like, my instinct was to say no, was to come up with like some kind of excuse of like why I couldn't do it, why I couldn't go and do this event, because I was just absolutely terrified. And I remember thinking to myself, like it clicked in my head that I was about to say no to something just because I was scared. And I remember at that, like at this moment, that when that happened, I told myself, from now on, if an opportunity presents itself, if I'm asked to do something and the only reason I have to say no is because I'm scared of the outcome, because it scares me, like the thought of putting myself out there like that, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes every single time. And ever since then, that's exactly what I've done. And I think it's really changed like the course of my life, you know, and I think that, again, it's that attitude, it's that idea of like looking at what good can come from change, what good can come from innovation, from trying new things, from taking risks. It's the only way you're going to grow. If you stay the same, if you stay stagnant, if you don't adapt, if you don't look at opportunities as potential for you to grow, then you're not just going to stay in one place. You're probably going to go backwards. And so when it comes to something like this free returns thing, every time there's like a new seller update, I honestly look at it as, how is this going to help me? How is this going to help my business to be better? Is there something good that can come from this? And if I don't know, I'm at least willing to try, because if I try and good comes from it, I'm going to be so excited and so happy. Now, is there a possibility that it's not going to turn out? Sure, there's always a possibility of that. But at least I tried. And if I don't try, then I'm never going to know. And so, you know, again, this is just kind of like going back to the idea that I'm nuts, that I'm maybe being paid by eBay. And I'm telling you, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to think that like I'm on the right track here. But I'm hoping that like the majority of you can at least understand that I'm coming from a super genuine place. And this really is who I am. And I'm excited. Like, I want to see good things happen. I want to grow. I've been selling on eBay now for, let's see, my first sale was in December of 2015. I was limited to 10 items a month. I could only do 10 items a month. And so, and then the next month it went up to like 20, and then slowly, you know, it was so slow. Like, I would immediately fill up all my listings the second I got more listings. And so I just went in headlong and I followed every single best practice I knew of. I went and I researched, I watched YouTube videos, I read everything that eBay put out, I joined Facebook groups, I got as much information as possible. But the biggest thing is I was constantly growing, and I continue to grow today. Like, I'm still always trying to learn new things. And I would listen, and when I would see things that worked, I would try them myself. But I always went forward with a positive attitude, and I think that that is super important. And, you know, the motto that I've come up with is remove all obstacles, and people have heard me say that before. It's like, remove all obstacles. I want it to be as easy and attractive as possible for a buyer to want to buy from me. And so that means, first of all, just having a really good listing, so improving like my photography skills, which I think my pictures look better, way better than they did when I started. It's improving my listings in every way. It's doing things like offering free shipping, doing my own international shipping to make it more affordable for other buyers. It is, you know, offering returns, because there's a lot of sellers out there who don't do returns at all. So doing returns, and now doing free returns, and just making it as easy as possible for buyers to buy from me. I want them to buy from me, and I don't want it to be a hassle for them. I want it to be as easy as possible. And I feel like that attitude and that motto of remove all obstacles is part of why I'm as successful as I've been. You know, I'm just one person. I don't have anybody working for me, but I'm able to make a decent full-time living selling on eBay. And I was able to get to that point about, I would say, 6 to 8 months from when I started. I went headlong into it. I worked really hard. I was just thrifting. I was going to the bins and I had no idea about clothing. I started out doing hard goods, and I hated doing hard goods. And then I gradually shifted into clothing. And I then pretty quickly started exclusively doing men's clothing. But I didn't know anything about clothing. I didn't know anything about fashion. I knew what I liked to wear. So I started at the bins, just buying everything. Stuff that sold, stuff that didn't sell. I was paying 99 cents a pound. And then just gradually I started to learn like what sold, what didn't, adjusting, and then eventually I got to where I know a lot more now about what sells for what, so I can pay a little bit more money for things. But it's all been about just doing it, just going out and doing it, working hard, having a good attitude, taking opportunities when they come, trying not to make any business decisions based on fear. I mean, you shouldn't be making fear-based decisions in your personal life, certainly not in your business life. And so I just would encourage you guys, not saying that you have to do free returns or do anything in your business that you don't want to do, but I would encourage you guys to really think about why you don't want to do certain things in how you run your business, why you make decisions. When you come to a crossroads where you have to make a decision, are you thinking about how it's going to hurt you, all the ways it's going to hurt you or potentially could hurt you? Or are you thinking about what it could bring to you, how it could help you grow, how it could make you a better seller, how you can expand your business, how you can bring better service to buyers, how you can be the best seller that you can possibly be? Just think about it for me for a little bit. Just kind of like go back and think about how you're making decisions. And that's pretty much all I want to say today. So again, I hope you guys are having a good week. Continue to give me feedback. I like to hear from you guys, and I'm always, I will always try to like get back to you as well. And happy selling.